All right, welcome back to The Counselor. We are on part 2 of our stages of grief. We're talking about grief and loss, dealing with all of this death, for the last 2 years from the pandemic. It's been a horrible ride. And, I'm not going to say that the counselor was born from this, but, it just kind of set inside my spirit, like back in June, we're going to need to help people. We're going to need to start getting, people some proper help. I mean, we've had some traumatic experiences lately. Excuse my language. We've had some hard times that happened to a lot of families. We lost loved ones, overnight. I mean, it just seemed like they got sick. They were in the hospital on the ventilator, and then they were gone. So I want to take some time, spend time with America, spend time with the world, but more importantly, while I have time, let's use it. This is The Counselor, and if you are watching me, I hope that you subscribe to my channel so I can stay here, and my plan is to be here for a long time, but I do need your support. And also, while we are talking, I don't take live calls, but you can get on my calendar by contacting my producers at promo@thecounselor.live. So you can just send that email in, or you can go to my Facebook, The Counselor Live, and you can email me. You can go to my DM, and we can get on the schedule. We'll get you on the calendar. And if you like something we're talking about, go ahead and submit your comments. I'm welcome. I love reading comments. I love getting back to people. So yes, you're with The Counselor Live. All right, so today we're going to continue where we left off. Yesterday we were talking about the stages of grief. We briefly went over them. We briefly listed them, but we did not kind of go into detail and just kind of go over the 5 stages of grief. So we're going to do that, and then I'm going to leave room for anyone who is on my calendar. We can talk about either this subject matter or something close to it. All right, so here's the good part. The stages of grief, as we mentioned, are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So someone who is grieving may go through these stages in order, or they may return to like a previous stage. So like maybe they might go from denial, and then, they'll get through the anger quickly and, begin bargaining and then go back, start over. So each person is different. We're all made up differently, even as we've known from the symptoms and the effects of this COVID. We're not all the same. We are different. We have different parts of our body that respond to things differently. And I use that analogy because it's hard to understand when someone loses a parent or a brother or a sibling rather, or, someone that they've been close to for long, from an illness, and that illness just went straight to death. It's difficult. So, we're here, The Counselor. So give me a call. Again, if you're watching this, if you're not subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe. Reason being, that's how I'm going to be able to sit here. Okay, so denial. This cannot be happening. So individuals, they may refuse to accept the fact that that loss happened. And I've met quite a few people, that experienced death. I'm sure we all have. And as we said yesterday, sometimes they're just not, no, it didn't happen to her. It didn't happen to them. They didn't go. They're not dead. Parent losing their child, especially. It's all of a sudden, it's a shock. It's a surprise. It's not something that you expect. So, yes, individuals may refuse to accept the fact that a loss occurred. Sometimes they minimize it, or they outright deny it. No, they're not dead. And even when you're at the funeral or even at the wake, knowing that the body's been embalmed, you're still waiting for that leg to move, that eyeball to twitch, something. You're looking for something. You're still hoping. So denial is real, right? And it's a stage. It's something that you're going to go through. Some people fly by it and, they like reality, and the dead are dead, and that's a good thing. I mean, that you have good coping skills. So, I would like to hear from some of you. If you want, I see the comments are starting to come in. If you want to go ahead and talk about some of these things, again, we don't do live therapy, but I will either direct you to someone who can help you today, or we can get you on their calendar. But more importantly, you better talk to me today. All right, so we're talking about denial. Next stage of grief is anger. Why is this happening to me? Why did they have to go? Why? What happened? Right? You start getting upset. Why, God, you took my mother away. Everybody likes to blame God, of course. Devil never gets blamed for death for some reason. It's always God. Food for thought. So when the individual realizes that the loss occurred, they may become angry at themselves or other people. Oh, just culturally speaking, I've seen some fights at funerals that, if you ever see, I don't go to one, but if you ever see me at one, I'm in the corner right next to the door. Either that or by the exit. Some people get angry, start blaming the older cousin, that nobody's seen for 6 years, of why they died. You killed mama. You killed her. You ain't spoke to mama and you killed her. Oh, it gets ugly. And, we talk about this a lot, especially during counseling sessions. Forgiveness and confronting these things while the person's alive, because once they're not here anymore, you really can't say much, right? Or you can say a lot. They just can't respond to you. Let's go to a psychic, I guess, or a medium. I like those shows too. All right. So that anger happens. They may argue that the situation is unfair and try to place blame. Yes, I know we all know some people like that. As a wise man once said, when it's my time to go, it's my time. So sometimes when it's time to go, you just need to go. Accept that. So, but yes, you can't blame someone to be angry, but there's the levels of anger that we got to work on, right? All right, you can't go shoot up the whole funeral because your mother's not here no more, or your boyfriend got killed, or you can't just go do all that, right? You got to deal with that anger. And what other way to do it? Get a therapist. Call the counselor. Talk to someone. Get it out. Get those feelings, those emotions out. Because once you get them out, once you release that, you can move on to the next stage. Bargaining. I would do anything to change this. I'll do anything, Mama, if I could just hear your voice one more time. I know I sound a little bit upbeat, and I know this is sad for some people, but again, you got to talk about it. You got to get it out, right? But we lost 55.1 million people due to COVID. So some of you guys do need to pick up the phone, get on my calendar, subscribe, go to my website, Counselor.Live. Okay, we are reaching out to work with you, but you have to make a move. You have to pick up that phone, subscribe to my YouTube channel, or you could do quite a few other things. All right, so we're just kind of going through the stages of grief. I see I got some more subscribers. I guess you guys are listening to me. You do like me. Yeah, so make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, you can email me at promo@thecounselor.live. That will go directly to my producers. And if you would like to discuss the subject matter that we're talking about, you are so welcome to be part of my show, to be part of this community enrichment program, I'll say, to start healing some of these wounds. And I'm just kind of glad that I got volunteered to do it, I got volunteer. That makes sense somehow. All right. Stages of grief. We talked about denial. We talked about anger. So your reactions, your behavior. Now bargaining. In bargaining, the individual may try to change or delay their loss. For example, they might try to convince a partner to return after a breakup or search for unlikely cures in the case of a terminal illness. So some people, they just don't want to let go. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. Do not necessitate is real, especially, when it comes to someone like myself. I don't want to sit there on a table for 6 months to a year. And that's my journey. If I'm unable to respond, allow me to go to the beyond. I like that. But some people, they may request that. Who knows? But give people a choice. Vegetating for 15 years and not pulling that plug, and just the suffering and the hurt, it's a long time. So, and, no one can tell someone when to pull the plug and, when to let someone that you love and care about go. But guess what? You're already dealing with loss. You're already in those stages of grief. And sometimes you might need to let that person rest. And you'll find the peace once you do. I don't know who I'm talking to, but this message is for you. Let that person go. Let those people be at rest. Let them be, and let them go in peace. So the bargaining stage is very dangerous, in my opinion, because you're on the cusp. You're either going to go backwards, you're going to go forward. And hopefully you can do go forward. Next stage, depression. We can work with that. That's what I was trained to work with and learned CBT and DBT. We, especially in Massachusetts, we deal with lots of people who are depressed. And, there's medication that you can take. Some people don't want to, but if you don't want to do it with medications, there's some natural ways to deal with depression. We will be doing that. I do have group meetings, mostly men's meetings, but we do work on relaxation techniques for depression. So depression is workable. So that means you've moved to a stage where we can start working with you now. Stop denying, right? You stop denying past that. You got angry, bargained, and now you're dealing with something that we can work with, your feelings. At the stage of depression, the individual has come to recognize that a loss has occurred or will occur. The individual may isolate themselves and spend time crying and grieving. It's okay to cry. And that's another thing that I often say in my men's group. It's okay to cry, brothers. It's not the end of the world. It's okay. It's a little bit of water. It's called feelings. It's going to come out. It's going to touch your cheek. And then it'll just go down your face right here. All right. It's I'm sorry, unless you're inhuman or you got Botox. Oh, wait, if you have Botox, your expression less. I think people are crying on Botox. I still think it's just all the Botox pouring out, from the skin and pouring straight down their cheeks, I lived in LA for a while, so I know what I'm talking about. I'm really crying right now. Can you see my face? All right, so depression, it does occur, but grieving, it does help to grieve. Depression is a precursor to acceptance, right? Because you've come to recognize that there was a loss. So now, like I said, we can start working with it. I know I'm supposed to be sad talking about depression, but guess what? That's curable. That we can work with, right? And finally, acceptance. It's going to be okay. And you know what? I think I said this yesterday. Don't say that in the beginning. Don't say anything if you're not a counselor. don't say anything. Let all the emotions come out. Just stay quiet. Just let the person feel, cry 25 times, fall on the ground. Don't even go get any tissue when they're crying. Don't do anything, because you already know it's going to be okay. They have to get to that point. And this is where the drama begins, is that you're trying to pull someone to acceptance because you've already dealt with grief, right? But everyone hasn't, which brings me back to my subject matter. This pandemic was really horrifying. We, America, we, the world, lost so many loved ones abruptly. So I may go a couple more days with this because I do want to hear from some people. All right, so you're listening to The Counselor. I'm having fun with this. It's probably the most boring, and I probably didn't want to really start out the year like this. I wanted to go with a bang and a couple arguments and fights on the phones and get all these views. But guess what? Sometimes you just got to go at what your gut tells you. And my gut says it's time to start healing from the inside and let it work its way out into our life, right? All right. Some of us been scarred for life from the presidency on back. So I'm with you, but we can fix it, right? All right, you're listening to Counselor. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I am here. I'm going to be here every day between 10 and 12. I'm not going to be taking any calls while I'm on air out the blue. So if you feel like you need to speak with me, you do need to get on my calendar. I will post if I do have something that opened up or a cancellation. But until then, stay tuned for more. I will be back here tomorrow between 10 and 12, and you can contact me, but more importantly, subscribe.